welcome to this broadcast. Mark DeJesus in the house, ready to address your questions, talk about mental, emotional, and relationship health, and maybe put a little sunlight in your day if it's a bit gloomy, although we are in the summer where we're at, and it's hot with thunderstorms and all that kind of stuff. So you may hear some rumbling going on through the microphones. It doesn't mean that Jesus has returned and you were somehow left behind. It just means that there's thunder going on through the microphones here. But anyways, it is wonderful to be with you here on this Sunday night, or wherever you are when you're watching the replay, or maybe it's late Sunday night going into Monday morning, or wherever you are. But welcome. We pray that you're having a heavenly week. And if you're not, you've come to a good place to help you get plugged in to what heaven has available for your life and for your journey. Want to let you know, if you love this video, please take a minute and like and subscribe. Go to markdejesus.com. You can check out all kinds of good stuff there. You can also support these broadcasts by clicking on the donate button at markdejesus.com one time, or you can become a monthly supporter that helps the ministry work. We appreciate that so much. You can also, if you want to take a deeper investment into your life and your journey, check out the Healing and Freedom Community. You'll have access to all my training courses, specialized Q&As, and community interaction. I am right now teaching on the OCD healing journey and am walking through it step by step and producing content based on the book. You want to get your hands on that. Speaking of the OCD healing journey, tonight we're going to talk about spirals. We're going to do some spinning, lots of spinning. And of course, always by my side, supporting me, empowering me, adding value to my heart and life is my wonderful, wonderful wife, Melissa. She is here with us in the house today. Welcome, my love. Great to have you here.
I am here. Again, you have an amazing glow.
You have a glow all your own, my love.
I know. I have hat shade too. So yeah, listen, everybody.
Hat shade.
Listen, ladies. You know how it is, right? I did my hair yesterday, and then we went in the pool. I did not put my hair in the water. However, you know, it's like you feel a little yucky, and you only want to wash your hair every couple days. You know how it is. So it's hat day, ladies. You know what I'm saying?
Understood.
Well, I didn't probably have to explain that, but
well. This week, you know, speaking of lighting and all that stuff, I spent like 3 hours just fussing with this camera right here. And it's been in a mood lately. So,
oh, thanks, Lenny. I appreciate you.
So if it acts up, you know, it's
right.
That's what's going on. Do you want to say hi to everybody in
I do, but first, JC Burden Lifter has a super chat. God bless you both, Mark and Melissa. Random question. What is your favorite summer dessert and why? Thanks for the rejection mindset book too. Why don't you go first?
You want me to go first? Well,
sure.
If it's dessert, it's got to be keto friendly for me. That's where I go. If it's there, I'm all about it. If not, the closest thing I'll come to dessert is pretty boring. It will be blackberries, you know. So it's pretty boring.
Yeah, but if you were to cheat, would it be
if I was in my fallen state?
Yeah, if you were in a fallen state, what would it be?
I'm going to tell you what. I am going to have not one, not two, not three, not four, not five. I'm going to have a container of Oreo cookies, and I probably won't stop until
one sleeve is gone.
A sleeve is gone, and hold up, the glory of God's going to hit me. I'm going for another sleeve.
It's funny because when you have a cheat day, you'll say to me, "I know you have something hidden. I know you do. Where is it?"
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I treat you like my dealer.
Right.
I'm like, "Where do you got the stuff?
Right.
Where do you got the stuff?"
You do.
It's not good.
Right. Dessert. I have a couple things, but the love of my life, outside of you, babe, is Breyer's mint chocolate chip ice cream. And if I'm gonna just get a little crazy, I'm gonna throw some M&Ms on it too.
That's good. That sounds good. You mentioned cheat day. I used to like once a month or something like that. I would do a big cheat day, and I'd go get a bunch of like really good donuts. That one, and then after a while, it's because I don't do sugar when I have it. I feel like, oh my goodness, I feel like I'm just eating like straight syrup, whatever it is. So it doesn't have that same kind of, but what was the question? It was dessert and what else?
No, dessert. No, just dessert. And then said, thank you for the rejection mindset.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But for me, it's a good hamburger with cheese, no bun and a steak. I'm very easy to satisfy as far as summer foods.
Yeah, that's very true. And you've been doing keto for quite a long time. So you are, it's just your lifestyle, and that is it, end of story. You really don't even have cheat days anymore. You used to like every couple months or so, and now you like, it's very rare if you do.
Because I just don't like the way I feel when I eat sugar.
Yeah.
And I was probably one of those, if I just stayed in my lifestyle, I would have been a type 2 diabetic. So it's just one of those things. I like to keep my energy level just more stable for the day. And I'm meeting with people, putting together content. I don't want to be like passing out or anything like that.
Well, I love the sugar, everybody. So, I have to stay off the gluten, but they do have gluten-free Oreos, and they taste the same, and they're amazing. So
I got to ask. I glanced over, and I see David Jenkins saying he's listening on his hearing aids. Do you really have hearing aids, David? Because that's amazing. Because I have the same. I'm not wearing hearing aids now, but I normally do, and I can tune into my phone if I need to. So I could technically space out and be listening to something while in a public setting. But I don't do that because I'm going to get caught. Someone's going to talk to me, and I'm going to be like, wait, hold on, what?
You give that like that 3 to 5 second delay of staring.
Yep.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I do. I a lot of times have a 3-second delay in general.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
All right, let me say ayo to everybody. Okay, Heather H, Miss Songbird, Danielle, David Jenkins, I am Kaya, Dan Phillips, Blue Fury Fire, Emma, Rand Katz, Christina, Lynn, Adrian, Paul, David Rodriguez, Lexi, Alexis Adam, Deline, Monica, Humanista 490, JC Burdenlefter, thank you. Rhonda Bird, Ivy, Cade
Kangas.
Kate, does Cade do keto or low carb? Because I feel like the meals we need to know, Cade. And broccoli slaw is the jam. Although, however, do you put raisins in it? Because broccoli slaw is amazing. We like to add it to every salad, actually, too. Okay, Brianna's new here. Hello, Brianna.
Welcome.
Lynn and Janata. Who am I forgetting? I think Larissa and Land. I think we got everybody. Christina B, Jessica Scott, Ivy.
And welcome those of you that are in Rumble that are watching this now or at a later date.
Wait, did David respond? I don't know if he did or not. Wait, what did he say here? Not gonna get caught.
Okay, I take that as a yes.
Maybe he does. Okay, so yes. Hello, everybody, and welcome.
Welcome.
Yes.
So today I'm gonna be getting into some questions, and here's what I'm thinking. I have in front of me, I've narrowed down a bunch of them. I think I have about 18 here. Do you think I can get through these 18? I don't think I ever have in the history of Q&As.
I think you could try.
Well, let me give a couple announcements to do some housekeeping just for a minute.
Okay.
Those of you that tune in to our Sunday night lives, after tonight, we are going to take a break from Sunday night lives until the end of August. We'll be back. Lord willing, the creek don't rise. The plan is to be back August 27th. Within that, there's a little bit of vacation time, a little bit of just break time to recalibrate. I like to always, in the month of August for me, I feel like that's almost my new year when I go into September. I don't know if that's the school year or maybe the Jewish calendar or whatever it is, but like to be able to just recalibrate. But also want to let you know this coming Tuesday, I'm going to be finishing up my series on guilt, on overcoming and working through the guilt factor. Going to be walking through some steps on how to navigate the guilt factor. The plan is to do a live broadcast about 3:30 Tuesday Eastern time. I will send an email out about that, but you join me. And then from there, we'll be taking a break for a few weeks, coming back towards the end of the month of August. Also want to let you know, be sure to join the Healing and Freedom community. For many of you that are struggling with OCD battles and you want support, I'm in the middle of teaching content on that. We got some great people that are a part of that community too, that you can interact with. It's been a joy to be able to pour in to the lives of those who've been a part of that as well. So take advantage of that.
People are guessing. Someone said they think you'll get through 3. Knowing you. Someone said half, maybe about 9. I think 9 is pushing it. Maybe 3 to 5. I'm with Christina B. But you know what, babe? You try to go for it.
I'm going to do this. Ready?
Okay.
All right.
You know what? Maybe not read like someone's entire email. Like maybe skim it a little quick. You know what I'm saying? That could help you get through a little bit quicker.
You know what I'm going to do? My goal is not to over answer. Maybe that
you can over answer. You can don't over answer, but you have to use.
All right. Well,
listen.
I've got Pellegrino ready and ready to go. Okay, so I think a couple of these off the top might be a little bit easier to go through. This is to therapy or not to therapy. Can you get yourself over scrupulosity, OCD, or do you need a therapist? That is a question right to the point. It's both. You can walk through it. You can heal. You can learn to overcome, and you can also get therapy. I say do both because it's important to have someone who can give us feedback on the journey and look from the outside where they're not. We're in our heads, and you need someone who has objective standpoint that can give you feedback. So how's that? Look at that. I just did that.
Babe, I'm proud of you.
Done.
This is amazing.
Done. Give me a challenge.
Although, in all fairness, their question was 1 sentence. So.
Yeah. If there was a problem, I'll solve it. Here we go. So this one's about, do I need an OCD diagnosis? I would like to ask you in regards to OCD. I've met some different psychiatrists and mental health counselors. However, each of them has come up with different conclusion in terms of my OCD diagnosis. Some say I do not have OCD because my thought battles have not interfered with my life in a significant way. I don't know that means that you don't have OCD. Some say I have an OCD because I engage in a lot of mental rituals. My feedback is if the input that I give or that you hear on obsessive compulsive helps you, let it help you. I think a lot of people are obsessed with diagnosis. And to be honest, this whole idea of like, I need a diagnosis, I need to be officially diagnosed. To really be diagnosed, there needs to be a lot of time, a lot of precise asking of questions and feedback to really, if you want to really get this narrowed in diagnosis. And I think too many people look for we get obsessed with having a diagnosis about our obsession. And if you find yourself obsessive and you find people give you feedback and you're perfectionistic and it often gets in the way of relationships, or it doesn't, you're just in your head. I don't think OCD means your whole life is interfered with. Now, many say it does interfere greatly with their life. But many perfectionists and OCDers, they cope with their control issues. But once that gets interrupted, they're like, the disturbance really rises up. So now I struggle with religious obsessions in my head. I'm afraid I will mess up everything if I ignore these thoughts in my head. Yeah, this all sounds just like it's obsessive compulsive. I keep rechecking and analyzing things because I don't want to mess anything up. Now I have no idea if I'm actually dealing with OCD or I'm just falsely diagnosing myself. I don't know if I should keep figuring things out or I should just stop and enjoy life. How about you just enjoy life and let yourself learn as you go how to be kinder to yourself and your thoughts, and learn how to direct your thinking to being in the present moment and have a newer relationship with your thought life. And I wouldn't focus your attention on trying to figure this out. You said, I don't know if I should keep searching for OCD diagnosis or just let it be unknown so I'm not so focused on this issue. Yeah, and then along the way.
Hey now too.
I can't say that I was necessarily going through a process of diagnostics. I was told by some people throughout my journey, And when I learned about OCD, what it's really about, not just cleanliness and that kind of stuff that people think, I was like, wow, this really describes the issues I went through, and would have helped me if I knew about it, 20 years ago. Would have helped a whole lot. So, anyways, yes, two down. Now we are going into some spirals here, so I'm gonna have to be like a lifeguard and know, like, okay, when to call it, everybody out of the pool when the whirlpool gets too much. Okay, this one is about fear that intrusive thoughts are demons. I know there's a similar video about this, yes, and this is one of the reasons why many questions that come in I don't necessarily respond to, because I've talked about it over and over again, and the questions become repetitive. But as I was watching, I understood it like negative thoughts are really the enemy, demons, and this just scares me too much. Yeah, that's fear of evil, and OCDers have a fear of evil. They're afraid. They have a fear of failure. They have a fear of evil. They have a fear of the unknown. They have a huge fear of uncertainty. So when you bring demonics and spiritual warfare into the OCD world, it's counterproductive. Now, I'll tell you, you need to go check out my video on that. I break it down, because people that are telling you there's an OCD demon, they're sending you in the wrong direction. And if they are teaching that, I would like them to show me 10 people that they have that have been truly set free. Because what happens is most people in the OCD world that chase spiritual warfare stuff, they often get worse because they're chasing the wrong things. They have an intrusive thought that's about a subject. So, for example, they have an intrusive thought that's maybe inappropriate. And so they go, ooh, I have this kind of spirit. That must mean that. And now they're chasing that, trying to repent of it, trying to stand against it. And then they find it gets worse and worse. What you're dealing with is a poor relationship with love and with grace. So you become very harsh on yourself. I get into the whole diagnostics of that. So you can go to my OCD help page. But what I can hear here is that you have a fear of the devil, you have a fear of the enemy speaking to you, you have a fear, and it is unbiblical to be afraid of the devil. How's that? Because I know OCDers want to follow what's right. It's unbiblical to be afraid of the devil. So let's rise up, learn to not be afraid, and learn to practice taking our peace in the love that God has for us. You say the thought were so aggressive because of the fear, they just came and they become louder. Correct. Every thought that we're afraid of gets louder and more aggressive. And because OCD thoughts are like a bully. Okay, again, and I'm not against spiritual warfare understandings. We are wrestling and fighting a battle, but I want to be very sober and grounded in how I'm teaching and talking about it, especially in the OCD arena. I got afraid of what if demons or the devil is speaking to me. So my mind made thoughts like someone is speaking to me. It was so scary. So the way I could heal was saying that it wasn't demons. It was my mind and OCD playing with me. See how this is like now going into more, you're becoming superstitious. Or like Michael Scott would say, you're becoming a little stitious. Yeah. So this problem came back when I started hearing a lot of times that negative thoughts are the enemy. Well, yeah, and I think where it's helpful, it is helpful if you go, it's just the enemy, to separate this out as not you, because OCDers have what psychology would call thought-action fusion, meaning this thought is who you are and you're capable of doing it, and just thinking it means you've already done it. And so you create this real tight relationship with your thoughts. And we need to separate this out and go, no, this isn't me. I need to take my peace and move on. I know easier said than done, but fear is going to ramp up, and you also have a guilt problem. Fear and guilt inflame OCD. Okay? You say, I feel guilt if the problem came back. I started hearing a lot of times negative thoughts of the enemy. Demons can talk to you. Mental illnesses are demons in us. And this just started to scare me again. I feel guilt if I say it again. So this is the superstitious thing. If I say these words, what if I don't say this? Am I giving power to this, right? We're not walking in grounded steps here. And I think maybe the devil wants me to make me think he doesn't have power over me, so he'll trap me. I don't know how other Christians are just okay with this, but it scares me so much. Everything goes back to the fear issue. Everything goes back to the fear issue. When we're no longer going to be pulled by fear over a subject. Now we can start to see it with greater clarity and perspective. I hope you can help me in this with no compulsion, but more with teaching me something that I can learn. Maybe I'm having distorted thinking about this. Thank you so much. I really like your videos. You help me a lot, not just with OCD, but learning more about God and Jesus, changing my old religious to belief to what God really is. God bless you and have a great day. Well, you too. And you're going to need to get a copy of the OCD Healing Journey, because that's going to help you have a new relationship with your thoughts to put this into perspective. And another question. Done. I am moving at a speed of efficiency here. Now we're going to get into some spirals. Ready for some spirals? Attention all shoppers, we're going to be having spirals in rows 1, 6, 17, 22, 48, and 89. Thank you very much. I feel like that was like bingo numbers, or like
we just played bingo with the kids. It's so fun.
Like lotto. We're going to do the these are the next lotto numbers there. That would be crazy if the numbers I just yelled out.
Now people might have to play that. That's an OCD thing too.
Yeah.
Oh, I heard those numbers. Should I play
It's a sign. It's a sign. Or maybe I
used to do that.
Or maybe I said a number
Yeah,
that was
I did
assigned
that.
to somebody. Somebody might be obsessing over, whichever number I said.
Like God's trying to tell me something. He's giving me the numbers.
Correct. Right. So what if, here we go. What if, you can't start laughing before I even do it.
What if Christianity isn't even true?
Or maybe it'd be like,
What if Christianity just isn't even really true? I don't really know.
Man, let me tell you something about your what if. You come in here with your what if all up in my house, bringing your yeah, but what if, yeah, but what if. I'm about to smack this what if out of you.
okay. So my OCD plays out in many different forms. However, the one that torments me a lot is doubting my faith. I love Jesus with all my heart. I know he is my savior. I'm waiting for the yeah, but. However, there it is. However, the OCD in me will make me doubt God and his existence. Well, OCD is a doubting disease, so it can make you doubt about anything. It can make you doubt, is God real? Is the devil real? Is real real? Is real 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 real? Is real 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 real? It can, this is what you have to understand. It can go anywhere. It can go anywhere. And sometimes when questions come in, I'll address it and they'll go, yeah, but, and they just add another detail to it, because doubt responds to life with doubt. And when you have doubt enter in, it's not doubt entering, it's your response to it. It's your response to a doubt that comes in that then becomes where things get down the winding trail. And when you inflame the doubt, and you start checking and researching it, this is what you've told your whole being. This subject is important. I must pay attention to it. So if you doubt the existence of God and you start researching, is God really real? I don't know if he's real. Then you're going to get a bunch of people online. They're like, God isn't real. And then you're like, oh no, maybe what I've been living for is a lie. You're now telling your brain and your whole inner being, your nervous system, this subject must be put on high alert. And now it creates this cycle, because you've been obsessive and now compulsive, and now creates this loop. So now the subject seems like it's center stage. So you said this one torments you the most. So let's dial this down and say, you know what? We're no longer going to say this is the worst thing in the world, worst subject in the world, because even telling ourselves that over and over again, this is the worst, it inflames the bully and empowers the bully a whole lot. So I do believe in God, and the voice in the back of my mind, OCD, will always say, what if Christianity isn't true? There are a lot of smart people who are atheists. What if they are right? What if another religion is the true way? These thoughts seem to only ramp up the healthier that my biblical study and prayer life are. So I don't know what you mean by healthier, your biblical prayer study. So if I was to look at your biblical study and prayer life, would I see a lot of pressure? Would I see a lot of restrictive routine? If you missed a biblical prayer day, how would you react? So I would say, Is your approach to Bible and prayer creating pressure, or is it helping to really open up grace and love relationship? Just a thought, because your practice then inflames these what if it isn't true, what if it isn't true? It's just a thought. Of course, I really don't believe these thoughts. I do believe God and the Bible is the only truth. It's hard to talk about this with other believers because I think many would react and say, I'm doubting my faith, which of course I'm not. I believe based off of your videos that you likely understand how I feel because my Christian faith is my core value and my worldview. Yes, OCD attacks the subjects that are important to you. So if as believers, we value the Word of God. And what if the Word of God isn't true? You value purity. You're going to have a thought that is impure. Oh my goodness, what am I going to do? Maybe this thought is me. Whenever I struggle with other OCD thoughts, my initial thought is to turn to God, pray, and then these thoughts begin to pop up. Yeah, and so you'd have to look and go, okay, am I compulsively praying out of these disturbances where I feel like I got to pray them off to get these thoughts away? That makes them amplified. And even more so, it also, when we pray, it is very common that Christians who have obsessive struggles, when they pray, that all of a sudden counter intrusive thoughts rise up to the surface. This has been happening for hundreds of years, going back as far as we can see in recorded church history, where even in the early days, it was seen as scrupulosity. People having intrusive thoughts while they're trying to pray and worship and trying to engage in religious routines in their journey. So another one.
You're doing great, babe.
Another one. I'm overwhelmed by selfishness is this one. Before I even get into the question, OCDers, let me talk to you for a second. As we're traveling down spirals, we're gonna act as a lifeguard today, and we're going to calm so that you stop flailing, so that we can then help you to not drown and not take me drowning down with you. Is OCDers, perfectionists, they misdiagnose themselves when it comes to pride and selfishness. Pretty much the majority of the time when people write to me and say, I have a pride issue, and I see the OCD pattern, they misdiagnose pride. I see it happen constantly. We're shooting off in the wrong direction because you're just really being very hard on yourselves, very self-condemning, self-accusing, and it's very easy to go, well, I just have pride. And it's not very accurate. Anyways, let me get into the question before I start giving my feedback. Several months ago, my anxiety, insecurities, and selfishness all came to a head, and I feel like I became fully aware of all my problems. That's a bit huge there. I'm fully aware of all my problems. I don't know that I've ever in my whole life been fully aware of all my problems. I become aware, and then over time I go, oh, I didn't see that. So let's just bring you down just a little bit. Like you said in one of your videos, it was like, now I'm aware of my selfishness, and the floodgates have opened. At times, quite frequently, I feel like the selfishness is going to overtake me, and it scares me. I notice it starts when I think about my own desires, especially things that God hasn't given me and may never give me. This is the misdiagnosis I'm talking about here. Where, what are we talking about here when it says the things God hasn't given you? Usually, it comes down to you want marriage and you're not married, or you want children and children hasn't happened. It usually surrounds those things, or a career that you wanted to have. And so if you think about it, you say you're selfish. I would say a lot of times OCDers are self-consumed, meaning you're lost in yourself, so that it's like you don't know how to get out because you're lost in a spiral within yourself. And the immediate answer is get out of your head and get into relationship with someone, talk with someone. Get out of where you're trying to feed this spiral, hoping it goes somewhere. You're gonna have to step out of it and get into relationship interaction to take your eyes off of yourself because you've gone introspective. So that's more what goes on. So because you're self-consumed, you're probably looking at things within yourself with inaccuracy. You're misdiagnosing yourself and seeing things distorted. You say it gets so bad that I don't want to talk to anyone, help anyone with the smallest things. I feel so ugly and self-centered. Yeah, you're lost in the self stuff, self versus self. And when you're lost in that, you can't see outside, you can't see straight. And a quick way out of it is I'm going to focus on someone else. Take a break from focusing on me right now because I'm too much in my own world. Okay. You said I lost in introspection question, and I say yes to that. I also feel like during these times, God's help is so far away, maybe because God resists the proud. No, this is misdiagnosis. You're lost in yourself. When we are disconnected from love within ourselves, of seeing ourselves compassionately, because loving yourself in a healthy way is not obsessing over yourself. It's not me focus. Loving yourself is unlocking how you see yourself with compassion, and you give out of the love that you've said yes to God in your own life. You love him out of the responsive love he's given you. You love others out of the love you're cultivating in your own life. So you're lost in the self versus self, and then you're calling it pride. I think a lot of pride that's going on, and when people hear this, they're going to panic. I have pride. Oh no. Is when we say no to God's love. No, I don't deserve it. I have this sinfulness. That's where I see it a lot. Is my sins are so bad, I am a reprobate. I've committed the unpardonable sin. I've done this. And we say no to God's love. To me, that's the form of pride that needs understanding. But what I see is a lack of compassion over yourself and what you're going through. So of course it feels like God's love is far away. He's here. He's right here, right now. So say yes to him. Say yes to him, and focusing on selfishness is going to make you more self-consumed. So during these times, I feel so far from God, and I'm definitely not walking in the Spirit. That needs to be one of those that I feel
so far from God, and I'm definitely not walking in the fruit of the Spirit.
And you're just condemning yourself. How do I prevent these episodes when I'm in them to get out? I don't want to be selfish. I feel so disconnected from everyone and everything, including myself, and I can't serve God in this state. Get out of your head and get in relationship. Talk to someone. Be a help to someone in their journey, and don't use the relationship to spin about your spinnies. Because a lot of times we need to stop compulsively oversharing them and change the subject. Gently change the subject.
Yeah, we know we've done it ourselves, and
many times.
Exhausted people.
If I was in a spiral today, right now, let's say I was in a
super spinny, like I just can't even think.
The first thing I would do is I would take a deep breath and go, let me get into a relationship. Let me talk with my wife, talk with my kids, be interaction. And I would let that thing just sit there, and I wouldn't feed it. It could be screaming in my head, and I'm just not feeding it. Mm-hmm. And that's really the key to how to get out of spiraling, how to get out of drowning, is the thought is there, but you don't feed it. And it takes time for the thought to die out. So that's why we get discouraged, because then you're in day 2, day 3, and you're like, the thought's still there. Or depending on how long you've been feeding this, you're in month 2 or whatever, and you're like, this is never going to go away.
Right.
No.
Or the person that you're trying to talk it out to, and their eyes get really big. Like, we've talked about this already. Mm-hmm.
Yes, when you get that kind of feedback.
Or they literally just collapse in their chair. They're like, I'm out. That's the telltale sign.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh, goodness.
All right, so let's talk about dreams for a quick second. Hi, Mark. I'm so grateful for the resources I've learned through finding your YouTube channel. I have OCD and tend to have pretty lucid, disturbing dreams. A lot of times I act out some terrible fears in them. When I wake up, it kickstarts my rumination over what kind of person I am, and if I actually want to do these things in real life, or I'll try to dissect them and wonder if it means something about my character, especially if they're repetitive, and it brings a lot of guilt and throws off my whole day. It seems like treating them like an intrusive thought is the way to go. Yes, that's what you need to do. But scary, since it feels so much more real. I would tell all OCDers, don't give a lot of emphasis to your dreams, because you can go into distorted places and overanalyzing them, and I don't see a lot of fruit in them. If there's something, as you're noticing over time, like, hey, I would lean more towards what are the encouraging things that could be in your dreams that could be encouraging for your journey. But I think I'm concerned about Christians that put such a heavy emphasis on dreams. Sometimes they overanalyze things. Sometimes we start putting things in there that aren't even there to begin with. And from what you're saying, you treat it like an intrusive thought. I would do the same and wake up and say, I'm in reality, I'm here, and I'm going to live in faith, hope, and love today. So how's that? Another one down.
You're doing awesome. Are we on 7 or 8? I was trying to keep track.
I don't know.
If someone knows.
We're going to talk about power of death and life in the tongue, which is a big OCD issue and a very black and white issue that Christians can often get locked into. Hey, Mark, I'm reading your newest book and really gaining some great knowledge from it. So thank you for writing it. My question is about the verse in the Bible that says, power of life and death are in the tongue. This verse seems to trigger my OCD, right? Oh, no. I said something, and now death has infiltrated the world. Coming to a theater near you. How I wipe the planet with one sentence. It's that kind of weight that we put on things. Now, let's put this in simple perspective. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. Can I right now I'll bring you into this, hon. Can you right now say something really, really mean that could pierce me, hurt me, and I could be struggling for quite a while because of what you just said? Mm-hmm. Yes, right?
Yes.
Now, can I do the same?
Yes.
Right? The tongue is very powerful, but in a lot of circles in Christianity, we can get very black and white legalistic with it, where a word you said or you express that you're struggling. Oh, now death is grabbed on and it's now chasing situations down with death. And that is a very, very restrictive thing, and it doesn't put into context scriptures. And many times in these passages of scripture, we need to see them soberly in big picture. So I need to look overall in my life. Are there times today, yesterday, this week, I said some things that I gave life to that I go, maybe I need to adjust that. So I'm going to bring another scripture into context to help you with your tongue. Is the tongue powerful? Yes. And the Bible calls it a rudder. All right. Now, when you're in a boat and you're in a rudder, do you take the rudder and just yank it into a certain direction to change courses? No, you use it and you gradually, because you're going to move the ship in a smooth turn into this new direction. And this is what I call the gentle redirect. And we as believers, when we notice, hey, you know what? I've been really negative with my words. I don't want to create this legalistic paranoia where now you can't have an off moment. You can't share something where it's like, learn to redirect in your journey, gently redirect. I've been kind of saying a lot of negative. You see patterns in your life and you let God's love and his grace embrace you in it. So you say, you know what? I'm going to start moving into some new directions. When you put legalism and pressure on it, you're just going to always self-condemn. You're always going to get frustrated. So you say, I start to get a little superstitious. Yes, we do. And when you feel yourself getting stitious, you need to recognize that and go, okay, I'm putting too much pressure on myself. Like the things I say have power. I almost become a bit paranoid about saying or even thinking certain things. I get that the way that we speak and think is important, but I start to spiral in an unhealthy way with verses like this. I guess my question is, how do we look at this verse and how can I not spiral when reading things like this? Well, when you feel the trigger of anxiety, you work your way through it. You don't feed it. You don't feed it. Oh, there I go again. I'm taking the scripture out of context. I'm seeing it distorted. And I'm just going to kind of put it over here. I'm not going to feed this subject because right now it's a bit distorted. I'll see it in its context in due time as I learn to be more loving and more gracious to myself in my journey, because that's how we learn. We learn in growing relationship, not in constant condemnation, yelling at ourselves, and being harsh on ourselves. Speaking of being harsh on ourselves, let's get into some total depravity, shall we? Total depravity. Are you sure I should go easier on myself? Is this question, or maybe?
Are you sure? Are you really sure?
Sure.
Are you really sure that I should go easier on myself?
I recently realized that I struggle with both religious OCD and relationship OCD. I struggled with it for a long time, and 3 years ago, I went through a really rough season where I just treated it as an anxiety issue. Understandable. I was terrified of not being saved, disobeying God, committing sexual sin. Anyways, I actually found tremendous peace and healing in that season when I just allowed myself to say, yes, I am completely sinful. I'm fully capable of committing any of these sins that I'm afraid of. I am totally depraved. But that is the beauty of the cross. Jesus died for me, though I am totally sinful. And even if I commit all these sins, I'm still saved because of what Jesus did on the cross. I found a lot of freedom in that, but then I went to seminary. That'll do it. Or as some people call it, I went to cemetery, and my OCD kicked up a lot. I wasn't sure what was going on until I got engaged and completely freaked out with relationship OCD. So you had some big transitions there, going into seminary, and then you're getting engaged. It's ramping up your OCD tendencies. That's when I found your videos, and I've been walking through a season of trying to heal. I got married. Congratulations. Love marriage, love marriage, love marriage.
Yes.
Let's give a hand for marriage.
Marriage is amazing.
Give it up for marriage. My husband is such a gift, but I'm still working through things. My question is, you often encourage us to be wary of being hard on ourselves. Wary. What does wary mean? Wary.
What?
Wary. W-A-R-Y.
Wary. To be aware or weary as in tired? Wary? I don't know.
I need to go back to grammar class. Wary. W-A-R-Y. Is this like? Is this
aware?
Is this from?
It's where? Isn't it meaning to be aware?
Is this written from the UK? Like I'm a bit wary.
Feeling or show caution about possible dangers. Be wary. I'm going to say that a lot now.
Be
now
wary.
It's in my head. Now I'm going to say it all the time.
Be wary. I should be very wary because there's sharks everywhere.
It's funny when you don't use a word and then you'll say it and it's like, wait, is that the right word?
Yeah. I feel like I should be looking out for some sharks.
Isn't it Shark Week? Did Shark Week already happen? Not that we've ever really been into Shark Week.
I believe Shark Week is
or is it coming up?
I believe Shark Week is coming up this week. My little turtle dove.
We're off the rails, everybody.
You can have fun with some of your potential spiraling
our
abilities.
Little Lenny said, wary is like skeptically cautious. Thanks, Lynn.
Yep. So we just showed that. We just exemplified like a third grade education.
And we just made everybody weary by
Don't
wary.
I certainly shouldn't feel wary. Okay.
Okay.
Trying to get to the questions so I can get through this.
Chair too. I need a better chair. I don't like the chair.
Trying to get through these questions.
You know what? We're back. I'm in your chair. You're in my chair.
I don't like this chair.
They got switched.
Yeah,
you want this one? All right.
Not right now, but yeah, let's exchange chairs.
We got a few weeks to get our chair situation fixed. Okay. I got to get back to this wary. We got to be now. See, now I'm overthinking.
Now the word sounds weird to me.
See, thank you.
It does. It sounds weird now.
I'm a bit wary, and it's like,
why do you have to say it in a fake British accent as well?
Okay.
Right.
You often encourage us to be weird.
It's going to sound weird now. You just have to say it. Just say it.
Okay, I'm going to say it. We're just going to move on.
We're going to just keep it moving.
We need to grow up and be mature here. Okay. Encourage us to be wary of being hard on ourselves. However, I feel like this kicks against my understanding of
Total depravity. Total. Not just depravity. You're not depraved. You're totally depraved. Stop acting partially depraved. You need to go all in depraved on this.
okay. And yes, I can see the theological thing. I get it. Total depravity. We are sinful. We cannot in ourselves produce righteousness. I felt like, I'll get back to the question. I felt like I found freedom in seeing myself as a wretch that was saved by God's grace. And I feel like a lot of theologians speak about themselves in that way. I feel like going easier on myself makes me cheapen my sinfulness or even deny it sometimes. I want to experience the beauty of God's grace for a wicked sinner. But seeing myself as a wicked sinner.
You're like really self-beating. My goodness, they need a huggy. They need a big old hug and a warm blanket.
Makes it hard to see myself as God's loved child. How do I experience God's grace as I'm not making this up, as a total sinner? So why am I exaggerating those words? Because I'm bringing out the words that keep coming up, while still experiencing his love as his child. It's very simple. People who teach total depravity, some of them hammer it so much, they never leave that state. You are a wretched sinner, and you always are. At some point, we need to make the transition. So are we children of God, saved by his grace, wretched sinners, or are we going to still identify with the old us? Because we are a new creation now, learning how to live in the new creation. And so the total depravity, yes, but what I see here is obsessiveness over your sinfulness. And that's just going to further cause you to obsess about it and make it magnified. And what I don't see here is the beauty of Christ and the beauty of the new nature that is at work within you. The same spirit that raised Christ from the dead dwells in you and is at work in you. So that's my answer.
Hillary N.
And
said,
I'm sticking to it.
Hillary said, aren't you guys making fun of the person who asked the question? And we are not. We need to bring levity to situations, and sometimes, well, a lot of the times with OCDers who are super serious.
Yep.
Super, super duper duper serious. And we need to be able sometimes to bring, like I said, levity to a situation and laugh a little bit at ourselves.
We're gonna laugh. We're gonna laugh, and we're gonna laugh our way into freedom. And where we were laughing was the word wary and our lack of education in knowing the word wary. So if we're gonna analyze it, what we were really making fun of is ourselves.
Yes,
and,
absolutely.
And I will never stop making fun of myself.
And David Jenkins, thank you, David, posted. It looks like the dictionary definition of wary.
I'm gonna give myself a little slack here, though. In the Google, it says wary, W-A-R-Y, is sometimes confused with weary, W-E-A-R-Y. So
that's it.
You're not alone.
Yep.
When you're attacking sharks. Okay, so I am on a roll here. OCD and becoming first-time parents. Let's talk about that for a minute. Now, this one's going to be tough for me. I'm just going to let you know. It's going to be tough for me to stay on track. I may get a little lost in this because this subject is near and dear to my heart as we are parents ourselves. I first wanted to express my gratitude for all your insight and teaching content. Your material has provided so much context, language, understanding to my healing and freedom journey. Like many others, my battle with OCD seemed to come out of nowhere in the forms of intrusive thinking and perfectionism. But I struggled to understand what was happening and adopted a scattergun approach, searching for religious, secular, and hyper-spiritual answers that only seemed to inflate the issues further. Right. I genuinely believe God is using you to address and guide people to the truth that truly saves us, God's amazing love. Thank you. Recently, my wife and I discovered that we're having a baby. That's another congratulation. God loves babies, too. Let's give a hand for babies. Put this here. We're giving a hand for marriage and babies. It's been some of the most exciting weeks of our lives. I've been stocking up as much information to get prepared and ready for fatherhood. Now, I'm going to say this right off the jump. It's good to learn, read, understand, but nothing's going to perfectly prepare you for being a parent. Just be teachable and be just learn as you take each step and let God's love and grace teach you, because there's so much to learn. No class, no book can adequately prepare us. Good parenting can help us so that we can pass on what was given to us. But many of us realize, wow, when we go into this, when I went into parenting, one of my first realizations was I have no idea what I'm doing. But God, you're here, and I feel that worked to my advantage. That mindset of I have no idea what I'm doing, but God, you're here with me, it can make us teachable. I don't get stuck in, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. It's just, we just humble our hearts. And I think it's very important that parents be kind to themselves, because there's so much pressure to be perfect parents. And it'll mess with you. It'll mess with you, especially if you have obsessive perfectionistic issues. You will be very, very hard on yourself. So I'm speaking of me being. I've been
Freudian slip. Right?
I've been on quite a journey of whenever that obsessive pressure wants to come over my parenting, it never goes in a good direction. And it creates fear, and then I go into greater pressure, and then I'm striving and trying to be better instead of letting that grace happen. And I learn along the journey, and just stay humble that you're correctable and you're willing to say, hey, you know what? My bad. And give yourself grace along the way. Okay. Did I finish that part there? Become overwhelmed. Okay. However, it's easy to become overwhelmed by everything out there. Secular advice that warns you about how much you lose as everything changes. I do hear that mindset that like, oh, when you're parent, you lose all your free time, you lose all this, you lose all that. There is this self-survival mentality that's invading where it can move into selfishness. It can move into creating fear of the beauty of sacrifice that's involved in marriage and the beauty of sacrifice that's involved in being a parent. So I get it. And in Christian culture, there's a curious silence around the nuanced journey of becoming a parent and what are some of the best practices to navigate that specific transition. You say, I never knew my real dad, who had left my mom to be a single parent. So let me say this, brother. Your dad left your mom and she's a single parent. You've already broken that cycle in your family and in your generations. So congratulations. So now the learning, it needs to happen. And so I remember feeling this myself. Like I have so much here that I don't know how to be a dad. God, as my father, you teach me as I learn to be a son. That's how I'm going to learn to be a father. And that's what I would encourage you to do. So as you're healing in sonship, God's going to heal those areas of your fathering. I'm often finding myself battling questions are, will I be a good father? Will I be a good husband? Which often opens the door to a lot of what ifs. Yeah. And it will inflame performance. You're going to be performance driven, evaluating yourself. And you're going to see really quickly as you go that's going to create more pressure. I know that you've already discussed some of these themes so well in previous episodes, but do you have any advice for people who are on the specific journey of becoming parents? Yeah, be kind to yourself each step of the way and learn as you go. And you'll learn through practice. We learn parenting as we parent, you know? Does that sound strange, but isn't that?
Right. No, it's the truth.
What would you say?
I think that one of the biggest things that I have come to understand is that when I am fearful over stuff with my kids, or I'm obsessed about stuff with our kids, it's usually pointing to something in me that God's illuminating. You know, we have so many people that come to us. Can you help my child? Can you help this? And we're like, we certainly could if we had to, but we'd rather say, okay, what's going on with you and how can we equip you? And I think that's the biggest thing, is that having kids, it just is another, like getting married and having covenant and those things. When you come together, it's like everything starts to erupt, right? And that's what makes marriage so beautiful. Then you go, okay, I got to deal with this. If I'm going to have a healthy marriage and we're going to grow together, we're going to deal with things together. And then kids come along. And it inflames stuff in a whole different way. And instead of making it about what the kid is doing, we do that, right? We make it's about the kid. And yes, there are things that we need to deal with, but a lot of the time it's stuff inside of us that needs to be healed, that I think for me that. I've had to learn big time.
And if we're kind to ourselves in our growth and our processing, that will manifest in our parenting.
Yeah.
And that's the place that God wants to teach us to live in. So be kind to yourself in the learning.
Absolutely.
Okay, I think I have the only thing about me going through all these questions is dance breaks.
Well, okay, GC Burden Lifter said, I sense a tambourine coming on. So I actually think that you should allow yourself a tambourine break.
You mean tambourine break?
Well, that's up to you, sir. If you feel that you need to take a legit break and have a sip of Pellegrino.
I was playing along.
Look at you. You're a natural.
This is how I teach on OCD. Somebody's if you don't have a sense of humor, then this broadcast may not be for you.
Right. That's good. You know, you're a natural.
All right.
We took our break. You know what? It just is.
All right.
amazing.
Let's get biblical here. Let's talk
What
about.
number are we at? Does everybody know in the chat? Do we know? Are we on 8, 9 questions? What did we do?
Well, if
Let me look. Should I look at the? Can I count the papers? Here, give me the papers.
you can count the papers.
I'll count the papers. Yes.
Otherwise, I'm gonna eat into the time that I could use.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. So this one's about dying to self. Okay. So hopefully we won't.
Dies to the point where I get an upset stomach.
I was curious about your thoughts on this. As we follow Christ, we are called to deny ourselves, pick up our cross, and follow him. In doing so, couldn't we look at refusing to react to an obsessive thought or act on a compulsion as a way of denying ourselves? I guess. I think that's out of context to say that. By stopping trying to control everything with a ritualistic compulsion or do whatever OCD is trying to get us to, we stop trying to fix an issue ourselves and we use that as an opportunity to deny ourselves, pick up our cross and lean on Jesus. I get what you're saying. Yeah. If it works, if it helps, I understand that. Jesus, when he said, if any man, I pulled it up here. Jesus, if anyone desires to come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. For whoever desires to save his life will lose it, and whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. There's an important summary here, and this can be good for compulsives, is Jesus is calling people to follow him. And what were many people doing? They were going, yeah, I got to go. I got a funeral. I got money. I got this thing. What were they doing? They were checking. They're going to check things that they need to check before they could follow Jesus. So in many ways, yeah, I hear what you're saying here. So I said the distortion. I get what you're saying now as I read the question. Yeah, it actually can feed into a good mindset because Jesus is like, Just make a decision, follow me, let's go. And OCDers, we could use a lot from just take a step and go, because we're constantly stepping and checking, stepping and checking, stepping and checking, stepping and checking. No wonder we're exhausted. So he's saying, whoever desires to save his life will lose it. It's like this self-preservation. Fear has taught us to preserve ourselves. Like God's saying, step out in faith, leave these compulsions, leave these obsessions, step out and trust. Go through the anxiety, go through the fear, and I will meet you. And we go, but what if? And we keep feeding that, and we're self-preserving. And Jesus wanted to cut through that and go. He'd tell the disciples, drop your nets, follow me. Yeah, but what if I, right? So I think that, it falls into a lot of areas that, I guess this is more, and going back to your question, I guess this is more scrupulosity directed, but nevertheless, as a follower of Jesus Christ, I think this can help me and my fellow brothers and sisters with OCD over all of us by not relying on OCD and only Jesus. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I get concerned about deny yourself gets distorted. And that's my concern in this. But I think where Jesus is like, this self-preservation of, well, if I step out, what will happen what about my finances? What if this? We're constantly checking for self-preservation. And Jesus said, just let it all go and take a step and follow me. Let's just walk, do this. Because otherwise we can't have relationship, because you're going to be looking back. You're going to be checking. But what about my family? And so for me, I've had to learn that just make a decision and go. Make a decision and go. Because otherwise I'm like the gear in a manual transmission in a car, just stuck, and the clutch is stuck, and it goes, right? What I need to do is just take a step. Woo! Got another one.
It's good, babe.
Spiritual apathy due to OCD burnout. Hi, Mark. I wanted to pop this question, but it is common for people with OCD to experience spiritual apathy due to being burned out from OCD. So it gets easier to give into sin and not care as much. It's not so much spiritual apathy. It's the OCD wears you out. So it fuels depression. It fuels exhaustion. So in that exhaustion, you are harsh on yourself and say, oh, this must mean I'm apathetic. No, it means obsessive compulsive living will wear you out. So don't make matters worse by just going, oh, I'm apathetic. I would say you're worn out by how much obsessiveness, and let that sober you to go, it's time to enter into rest today and move in a new direction. I don't have to be feeding these things anymore. You said, feel like I've put up with a lot of fears over going to hell, that it's easy to just not look at the fears and just live. But sometimes living doesn't produce what is godly. It sounds like some harshness, some black and white. It's not letting you have room for your journey. Now, I want to probably keep these in order. Right?
Yes, flip them over.
I'll do that. There we go.
Yep.
Okay. Can OCD lead to memory loss? I don't know. Let me get my medical manual out. Based on your videos, I discovered that I have OCD. I've been dealing with this disease for years. I'm only 25 years old, and my memory is horrible. I have a hard time remembering things that happened even 30 seconds ago. I'm an overthinker. I spend a lot of time in my head. Do you think OCD leads to memory loss? Well, I'm not a doctor. I know my initials are MD, but I'm not a doctor. How do I strengthen my memory? By being present in the moment. Slow down. Be present to what is happening. Be present to your surroundings. Be present when go for walks and just take in. Look at that beautiful green tree with the brown roots, and look at the grass. Look at that house that's colored blue. Or that's just an example. Take in the moment when you're with someone. Listen. Redirect your focus to them.
Can I interject?
Yeah.
Well, because I would say that I have like a ton of other questions that I would ask this person, because even the advice that you're giving now is really great, but because of how I grew up and having like come to realize a lot of things about it, that I would get in front of people and go, I'm going to pay attention. I'm going to be present. I'm going to listen to it. You could do it, Missy. You could do it.
Gentle.
And
It's got to be gentle.
it just wouldn't happen.
It's got to be gentle.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
It's relational. 25 and a ton of pressure.
Yeah.
Yep. I would like, let's bring the pressure down.
Need some nurture in your life, honey.
Yep. There's some anxiety
Yeah.
going on, and it's probably presenting itself as attention deficit issues, but there's an underlying anxiousness, underlying obsessiveness, keeping him in his head. And you can even look at stuff like my teaching on biblical meditation and stuff like that, of how to land ourselves.
So can I read you a super chat? So you don't have to read?
Yes.
Okay. From Truth Spoken, how can we balance the spiritual warfare aspect versus mental health patterns? Sometimes I can go from one extreme to the other and get confused. So spiritual warfare.
So you find yourself going into an extreme, and you go like this. You go, all right, just rein it in. That's it. That's it. People go, they want a bunch of like rules. Give me the rules. I'm not going to give you rules. You learn, like, how do I know I'm over talking? When you're actually over talking, you pick up on it over time. Now, sometimes people have to tell you, hey, you talk too much, right? Or your friend goes, hey, you're talking about spiritual warfare a lot, and you're obsessed with it, and you rein yourself back in. Did the apostles talk about demons? Yes, they were not obsessed about it. In fact, you'll see Paul's writing. I forget where it is, but go look it up yourself. He goes like this. He goes, yeah, I wanted to come to you, but Satan stopped us. So anyway,
right.
And the spiritual warfare people would be like, wait, hold on, we got to say 17 prayers and we got to do. And he's like, okay, so that's what happened there.
Right. They didn't give it power.
We feed it a lot. And so I just,
church, yeah.
I have a hard time finding spiritual warfare teachers that don't get superstitious, fear of evil, and get legalistic. And it gets
And
too much.
it's exhausting.
And I've been there, and I will say there was a time where I taught on it, and it was too much, and it got too restrictive. And thank you in God's grace that I'm learning to recalibrate that and put it more in perspective. So
yeah, it's good, babe.
Okay. I think this one gets into my pastor being a workaholic. So this scenario is around doing the right thing for God. Naturally, a fixation with doing triggers a fixation on works. Logically, I understand my salvation and standing with God is not contingent. Oh, this might turn into another one of those words.
Okay, say it again.
Take a deep breath. Be present. Contingent.
There you go. You got it. Way to go, babe.
On working my way to heaven. It's the works that come after salvation that get me. At my church, we're taught to be doers of the word, referencing the scripture in James. Be doers of the word, not just hearers only, I'm assuming. My pastor is a self-proclaimed workaholic, and his delivery in the pulpit is pretty militant. He's told the congregation before, he rarely takes vacations, if he ever, and he spends all of his days doing the work of the Lord. Yeah, I'd be concerned about that. And if he's married, way more concerned. If he has children, super duper concerned. Because that's not going to produce good family fruit. He's driven. His militancy is driven. He has a driven behavior. What's driving it? He would say, the Spirit of God is. We're led by the Spirit. We're not driven by the Spirit. It's a big difference between being driven, being led. Driven is under pressure, so there's this underlying anger, irritation, and so that produces the militancy and the militant approach. And so, yeah, that would, for me, it's like, I don't want to get on too many tangents about pastors, but anyways.
Rumble is frozen. Do we fix that?
Rumble is frozen. Rumble is frozen.
Thank you, Katie.
I'm going to check here. Yeah, Rumble's frozen. It's frozen like this. Me going like this. Yeah.
Do you fix that? Or do
it's like deep into the settings. I don't know if it's something that I can. rumble. Let's see here. Let's get ready to rumble. Hang in there, folks.
Yeah, we're still here.
If not, we'll you can jump.
You're doing really good, though. I think you're at 11, 12, 13.
I'm doing this, so you guys
You're
are
doing
You guys are
amazing.
stuck with me. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I will be done. And I had a dance break in the middle. Of
now.
it. So
I can do this.
Okay. So sorry, Rumble, but I'll keep going. I can't recall ever hearing him talk about rest. Right. He's not gonna. And there's almost a bit of a passive aggressive that comes out when he talks about the congregation being doers of the word. Yeah, there's an underlying anger that feeds driven people. Type A personalities, go-getters. The thing about them is they can build big organizations. They can build big movements because they're constantly under that make it happen, make it happen, make it happen. And the achieving kind of thing. And they get irritated that everyone else isn't in that kind of mode. As you can imagine, these types of messages press all my buttons to the point I'm finding it difficult to stay focused on the message. I hear this type of stuff. I start thinking, is what I'm doing not enough? The spiral begins. I'm even considering looking for a different church because of how distracting this has become. I don't want to be stagnant in my faith, and I'm open to being challenged, so that's not my motivation for leaving. This fixation on not enoughness is making it difficult to get into relationship with God because it feels so unsafe. I just feel like my brain is trying to use my pastor's behavior as the standard, as a reason not to rest, as a reason to shame myself for not doing enough. How do I get unstuck from this? Well, whether you leave the church or not, you still have to deal with you and how you think. And so leaving the church won't necessarily solve it, but I see all your concerns. And for me, it would be very, very challenging for me to stay in something like that. You can hear my whole story about mental health and church life in general in my past SNL broadcasts. So I don't know where this one's going. Something about prayer here. Prayer list. I think compulsive prayer lists. Hi, Mark. I have a question about prayer. I have OCD, and I found a lot of freedom through your videos, but I still struggle with OCD tendencies in prayer. I always have a prayer list a mile long. Okay, so step 1, take your mile-long prayer list, and I want you to go like this and just rip it up, okay? Because it can have its place to have reminders of who you're praying for, but then it becomes this it becomes this not heart-connected kind of thing. Prayers that move mountains are things that we connect our hearts to, and that we're invested in. Lists. Being invested in a list is like a checklist. Let me just check it off and pray that I can, I got to make sure I say all these things. I feel the need to pray for all of my family and friends and for people I pass in the grocery store. And whenever I hear about a tough situation someone's going through, even if it's someone I don't know on social media, I always want to pray for them. Yeah, that sounds compulsive. Of course, I never have time to pray for all these people and situations. So then I feel guilt. There's the guilt factor. So you're going to have to actually feel the guilt. It's going to rise up, and you don't do the prayer, and you move through it. And you have all kinds of thoughts. I'm disobeying God. I've committed the unpardonable sin. I've missed God. People are going to go to hell because I didn't pray. It's all going to kick up. And you'll have to not feed the guilt and compulsively go back to your trying to pray to make yourself feel better. I sometimes ask God for clarity, but I'm never sure I'm hearing him clearly. Do you recommend a healthy way to pray for people in my life without feeling guilty and overwhelmed? So that when you feel the guilt and overwhelm, you're feeding compulsion. You're feeding obsession. So rip up your prayer list, and when you pray, just pray out of your heart and what you're connecting to in the moment as people come to mind. And then go, all right, that's it. We have to learn through practice when we pray not to carry burdens. Prayer is meant to release burdens. God, I give this to you. I pray for this. I give it over to you. So you're going to have withdrawals of guilt that you're going to have to work through. Feel the guilt, but don't feed it. Then there's here's some more spinning. We're going to do some more spirals. Spinning that I have mental illness. I hope you and your family are well. I super appreciate your work. I find myself spinning a lot over if I have mental illness like paranoia, OCD. If I hear someone talking about something, even if I may never have even thought of having it myself, I suddenly become anxious thinking, oh my goodness, what if I have that too? I think looking up the terms would be compulsive, so I avoid that. Plus, I'm afraid they'll be true. But in avoiding research, isn't that also compulsive? I think I'm overthinking it. I would say, yes, you're definitely overthinking it. I've certainly had that. Over my shoulder here, you might see it's a little blurry. That book right there next to the Strong's Concordance is a DSM-5, and I've done a lot of reading in there. I think I'm one of the only people I know that has a Strong's Concordance and a DSM-5 next to each other. But I've read in sections where a certain mental illness and it describes it. And it's like, this sounds like me. It sounds like me. And then all of a sudden, the JAWS button wants to hit, right? And oh no, the sharks are coming. Here come the sharks. And this is where you have to be self-nurturing. It's all right. I'm getting off the rails here, and I'm obsessing. And that's where you gently redirect yourself away from either researching it or spinning in your head that you might have it. And if it gets really extreme, you go, okay, well, if I have it, I'll figure it out, and I'll figure out my way through it. And that's where sometimes we embrace, we hug the cactus, so to speak, where what the troll is saying. Okay, well, that's true. Then whatever. Then I'll face it when that happens. Okay, I'm going to move on to another one here. Oh wait, hold on. I think there's a part 2. I think these questions parallel with my struggle with intrusive thoughts of harming myself or others or losing control in some dramatic way. And these thoughts sound the same with their OMG, what if questions. They lead me nowhere, and I'm feeling anxious and spinning over it if I do have these mental health problems, but I don't know enough about them to even know for sure. Okay, let me do this next part as a part 2. So this one's got two parts.
2 parts. Okay.
So we'll do that. I'll separate this one out. I've seen this anxiety bleed over into my relational life because I can become so introspective. I can become very self-conscious and anxious around even longtime friends. And I just feel awkward, although they probably don't even think that of me. For example, anytime someone in leadership at our church wants to talk about almost anything, I internally feel so anxious, and they're amazing people who love us. I don't want to feel so nervous about things I don't need to feel nervous about. It's frustrating. You'll have to practice. You have to practice interacting where you're kind to yourself. And you'll shame yourself and go, oh, I have these crazy thoughts going on. These people know, they see it. They see it in me. Oh, no, they see it. They know it's there, right? And I'm telling it to you this way because I've gone through this. And you have to just keep practicing. I'm okay. I'm all right. And I'm with great people. Let me enjoy it. Gently redirect yourself back to the conversation, listening to them. And quite honestly, though, cut yourself slack. People have fear of authority figures. We just do. Mm-hmm. If your pastor said, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? 99% of us would go, what did I do wrong?
Right.
Right. I'm also a young married mom of a toddler. God bless you. I was by myself driving home the other day. I tried to bring compassion to all these things. So I spoke to myself. I told myself that I don't need to feel guilty or feel the need to introspect so obsessively because it really isn't producing fruit. And that when it comes down to it, I'm a tired mama who probably needs a nap. Let's give a hand for naps today, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for naps. We love a good nap.
Mm-hmm. I could never nap.
I know.
Never.
What's up with that?
I still can't.
Yeah.
No, I have like supersonic hearing too. So any little like the air conditioning comes on, the dog moves, especially when the kids are little, like you hear them flip in bed. It's not fun.
Everybody just reach out your hand to the screen right now and just touch the screen and just pray for Melissa to be able to take naps.
Right. And all the mothers that cannot, because it's important. I've never been able to.
Yep.
Yeah. I
knew a guy who he could fall asleep standing up. Very strange.
What a skill.
Mm-hmm. He was one of the coaches on my basketball team. And one time during the practice, the coach stopped, looked over. Dude was standing there, eyes closed, asleep.
I don't know how I feel about that now that I think about it for a few seconds. Falling asleep standing up.
Yeah.
Are you sure? Is he faking it out because he didn't want to be bothered?
It might be a diagnosis. It might be some kind of
maybe.
diagnosis. Yeah. I tell you what, sometimes that was a little Southern. I tell you what. I tell you what, Bobby. There's something profoundly amazing about a 5-minute nap.
What is that even?
You just
I don't even understand that for 5 seconds.
I forget who it is. I forget who it is. Maybe it was Winston Churchill or one of those people that he'd hold keys in his hand, sit in a chair, close his eyes, and when the keys fell out and hit the floor, it startled him. Oh, it's
Isn't
time.
he the one that would like be in the bathtub too, and the secretary would come in and have to take notes when he was in bed? So that's weird. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Moving on. Moving on. Okay.
Oh goodness.
All right. So let's see. We're talking about naps. I got distracted on naps. I need a nap. Yes. Now you're diagnosing yourself well. You need a nap. Well
Lynn
done.
said it's Michael Hyatt.
Well, Michael Hyatt told the story,
Oh, Michael Hyatt did tell the story.
but it was about somebody.
Oh, okay.
When I'm not spinning in this, I find that I can really focus on my family and do things out of health. But when I get stuck in those mental ruts, guilt and fear take over and I feel stuck and anxious. When I get the most relief is when I'm in more situations with people that I stop thinking so much and just enjoy the life before me. But why do I get stuck? That's a useless question. Why do I get stuck? A lot of OCDers are in their spiral. They go, why? And that is another hook to pull you in further to the spiral, because the question leads to nowhere. So instead of why, just keep practicing what you're practicing. And you said your husband's going out of town for 3 nights for the first time since having a baby, and I'm anxious over it. Yeah, understandable.
Yep, totally.
And the intrusive thoughts and what if scenarios keep coming up and about being alone. But I keep trying to remind myself that it will be okay and that my fears aren't real. What advice would you have for this spinnerton?
I like that.
Well, triple S, I think that you be kind to your anxiety. Yes, your fears aren't real, but be kind to them. These are things that we go through, and let yourself face it and work through it, because it's practice. This is practice. Okay, I'm going to talk about dealing with OCD and depression after second miscarriage. Let's see. Okay, I had a coaching session with Mark back in March after our first miscarriage. Unfortunately, my husband and I just experienced a second miscarriage a couple weeks ago.
I'm so sorry for that.
Yeah. Over the past week, I've felt my OCD symptoms rising. Okay, so you're in pain. And when you're going through pain, it is very common that OCD increases, maybe more intrusive thoughts. What really happens, though, is perfectionism ratchets tighter, where we need to make sure we're doing the right thing. And that's not exactly a healthy response to pain. Pain requires graciousness. It's messy. It's journey. And what you're going through is very, very painful. First, I was obsessing about making sure I was okay with God and the Father, even though He allowed this miscarriage to happen. Okay, I'm just gonna say this, and then I'm gonna move on. I do not promote the God allowed this to happen mindset. I think it's an unproductive mindset because it promotes God sees what happens. He could have stopped it. He should have stopped it. It puts God in this. He prevents any bad thing from happening, but instead He goes, go ahead and let all this happen. I do not encourage that kind of mindset for believers. Now, that's going to get into all kinds of, existential God and what's His role. And people have been trying to figure that out for centuries and trying to figure out exactly why bad things happen to good people or whatever. And it leads us into more spinnies, and it creates these boxes that we try to figure everything out, figure God out. In our pain, I discourage people from trying to figure out the matrix equation, why this happened, what was the purpose of it, what was God thinking, because I see it lead to very unhealthy places.
Right.
So we're just gonna back that off a bit,
Right.
okay? I felt like I was okay with Jesus, but not the Father, and I was obsessed with making sure I felt just right toward the Father in my heart. So you have massive perfectionism that's ramping up. Just right, but never enough. And then I moved on from that, and the thoughts have been about my relationship with my husband, wanting to make sure I feel just right about stuff that he dealt with in his past before he were married. So the checking is on high alert. So here's your pain, and the pain needs to be processed through, but the pain's uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. This is tough stuff. So the tendency will be, instead of walking through the pain, am I close to the Father? Do I really know Jesus? What about my husband? So the checking is part of the distraction of OCD. Yeah, OCD is the grand distractor. It's never what you're obsessing about is the issue. Never. It's about how you relate to your thoughts, how you relate to God, how you relate to yourself. So I know these thoughts are stupid. Okay, so now you're shaming yourself. So want to stop shaming yourself. I wasn't thinking anything about my husband's past a few weeks ago, but I can't seem to shake these thoughts. I'm compulsively trying to make sure there's nothing between God the Father or me and my husband. I just want to feel close to both of them right now. And you're doing it under perfectionistic pressure. You have perfectionism that is assaulting your thoughts and pressurizing your thoughts. I was wondering if you guys can shed some light on why my brain chooses to obsess about the unrelated stuff after traumatic events. The why doesn't help, but yes, in traumatic things, in transitions, in difficult seasons, OCD ramps up because it's your survival mechanism. You survive to difficult stresses by just right, never enough. That's the simple answer. But focusing on the why isn't going to help you heal. It's not going to help you actually heal, and that's what you need. Instead of thinking about the miscarriage and I just lost my job. Okay, right. Mm-hmm. It's a lot. This is a lot of pain, a lot of grieving that's needed here. I'm thinking about this other stuff, and that's what OCD does. I know part of this has to be my hormones crashing too after the miscarriage. Certainly. Now we're moving to a kinder perspective. I feel awful emotionally and guilty for having these thoughts. We need to gently redirect your focus back to simply grieving through this, the painful grieving of what you've experienced and what you've gone through and what you're going through. And be aware to redirect. I'm getting into that just right thing. If I go into that just right, this is an anti-love behavior. I am being anti-loving towards myself and what I'm going through. And that could help redirect to what you really need is take it slow, take it easy. You're needing to grieve through this. So
It's good, babe.
And guess what?
Are you on the? Is it the last one?
Mm-hmm. This is the last one.
Woo-hoo.
This is the last one. This is it, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm so proud of you. You need to celebrate. We're gonna have some nice steaks.
Wait, did you say we celebrate with some steak?
Yes.
Glory, we got to get this done. Here we go. Okay, I think this is about being obsessive about helping people. I grew up in a home of non-believers, and know, listening to your videos, I've been realizing that it was pretty dysfunctional in a lot of ways. I know my dad and a lot of my family members have suffered from mental illness, depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, OCD. So I feel I am pretty sensitive, and when I see other people struggling, I feel I have to help them in speaking into their hearts and what I think God has for them. But a lot of times I feel that I have to carry the burden of other people and let them know how loved they are. Sounds to me like you carry false responsibility. OCDers who have a tender heart, sensitive heart, and you're looking at one. I have had to, over the past 15, 20 years, learn how to access empathy and not get overwhelmed by it. I have been time after time after time through seasons of my life where what people have been through has like run me over, meaning that I connected to empathy, but connected it where I was connecting to it where I took it on. And this is where we get mixed up, and where it's not healthy for us to take it on in such an unhealthy way. So how do we do that? I've had to learn through practice. No, I'm taking this on too much. God, I give this over to you. I'm compulsively trying to fix too much. I'm trying to be too much for people. I am not Jesus Christ. I'm of Jesus, Mark to Jesus, but I almost set myself into a spiral. Okay, so this takes practice, but I can see that you compulsively take on false responsibility. If I don't share, I feel condemned that I didn't. So it leaves in a place to share to get rid of the condemnation and guilt. That's your compulsion. So you're going to have to feel the guilt and go, no, that's not for me right now. I have to learn how to love. I have to learn to give out of love and learn to serve out of love, because right now I give out of guilt, and it makes me do it out of disturbance. I know in the past I feed this pattern with sharing with people my heart, but it gets to a point where I get tired because I know one day I'm not going to share because it can get really personal or deep with other people. I kind of feel like their savior. The thing is, if I don't share, I feel guilty. I'm ignoring God and being disobedient. I find myself spinning, having conversations saying I'm not going to do it. I have another voice say I should do it. It feels like Holy Spirit. Yeah, that guilt is not Holy Spirit telling you to serve. It gets to the point where I just ignored it. I keep telling myself that God delights in me, but I'm kind of repeating constantly in my head, because behind that, it's all this thought that I just explained. I'm not sure what that means. I would encourage the OCD healing journey, because the question's revealing you have a obsessive relationship with how you should help people, and you have a sensitive place, and you want to learn how to steward that, but not out of guilt, because then it's gonna make you take on too much. It's gonna burn you out. It's gonna wear you out, and then in the being burnt out, which you've probably already been there, you can be like, "What's wrong with me? Why don't I love people?" and all that kind of stuff. So I have nothing else on my table.
Well, I think this is amazing, and I think we're good.
We have arrived. We have
We
arrived.
did.
So like we said, we're going to take a break on Sunday Night Lives. We'll be back at the end of August. We'll keep you updated on that. Stay tuned, because I believe Tuesday at 3:30, I plan to do a live broadcast on finishing up my guilt series. Speaking of guilt, and if you are looking to make some deeper investments, join us in the Healing and Freedom community. You can go to markdejesus.com, click on the community, and that will show you where you can join. There's also topics, books. You can support these broadcasts. Feel free to gather around this message, share it with others. It's been a delight, everyone. This has been wonderful. Any last comments before we go?
Everyone's just so proud of you that you got through all the questions.
I can do it, man.
You did a great job.
Well, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. This is your brother from another mother
Yep, and your sister from another mister.
saying we'll be back. It may be a few weeks, but we'll be back with more insights for your healing and freedom journey. But in the meantime,
We out.